Warning, this podcast may change the way you think about business, entrepreneurship, and money forever. The Conquistador Podcast was created for dreamers, entrepreneurs, and leaders who want to conquer their future. To be an epic entrepreneur, you must adopt the right mental paradigms as well as master the art of selling, marketing, and finance. Now, it's time to welcome two serial entrepreneurs, leaders, husbands, and fathers who are passionate about sharing the strategies that are helping them excel in life and in business. Here are Mauricio Garcia and Hubert Humphrey.
Everybody, to yet another episode of the Conquistador Podcast. You know, the number one thing that as entrepreneurs we have to always be, sure of is that prospecting is the number one thing. And so to talk about that today, I'm joined by my friend, my mentor, my partner, the great Hubert Humphrey, who I'm always happy to see every morning. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing great. It's great to be with you. Look forward to this most important subject here today, prospecting.
I love it. I think I said it that was like the number one thing because everything begins at prospecting. And so there's so many different ways of prospecting. There's probably been an evolution in the prospecting, resources or tools, maybe not resources, but tools. And so where do we begin? It is really a big, big topic. And maybe I'd like to begin by the one thing that many entrepreneurs assume, or for some reason they just jump to that conclusion when they start a business, is that I don't know anybody. What would you say to that entrepreneur who's thinking, I can't go in business because I don't know anybody?
Well, first of all, I'd let him know that he's totally wrong. You cannot be alive and not know anybody. From the time you're born to the nurses or whoever that pulled you out when you were born, to the ones that changed your first diaper, to your friends and your family and friends and others that over the years that have known you, all the way from raising you as a baby, a small child, to friends, to people in kindergarten, school teachers, college, your co-workers on jobs, your friends in the neighborhood. Every human being that you see is a walking, talking prospect list. They just don't know it. They just know that they need to know that somebody can take that person and literally they can monetize their life. Wait.
You said something right now. I just want to backtrack here. Rewind. You said everybody is a walking, talking prospect list. You didn't say prospect, but you said prospect list. Did I heard right, or it was just?
Yeah. See that's a paradigm shift. A lower paradigm is to look at a person as a prospect. I look at a person as a prospect list that have been knowing people all their lives, and they just don't know it. All you've got to do is take those people and help them leverage their life, help them monetize all the associations they've had all their life that they never knew were valuable. And it depends upon what business is being presented to them. But a business like I'm in, which is a business that you can highly leverage, you can borrow people's dreams, you can borrow people's time, you can borrow people's prospects. I love a leveraging business. That's why I've chosen to be in the business I'm in of building distribution that way. But prospecting is the key. I know one thing. Everything you said it right. Everything starts at prospecting. It's of all the reasons that you can look at why 95% or so of the people fail in business, usually, especially in the sales business, and especially in the more higher level sales, especially in like financial services, is because they run out of prospects. A lot of guys in the typical industry, once they get past their mom and dad and their aunts and their uncles, and they've run out of that, and a couple of maybe close friends, because they didn't understand how to master the prospecting system, they fade away, and we'll talk about that here today.
It's going back to looking at somebody as a prospect, not a prospect list.
That's right.
Yeah, that's powerful.
That's right.
Yeah.
But another point here is that when everybody you ever hear about in a business, was probably a prospect on somebody's list somewhere. I was a prospect on someone's list on multiple times over the years. People would call me way back, and I'd see some of these little deals. This was way back, and I didn't want to do any of it, but I was a prospect. Then one day, I was a prospect on a little part-timer's list. His father, that I knew real well from church, called and said, "Hey, Hubert, would you let Ronnie come over and see you?" He asked me that I think you could let him come. I said, "Sure." So he came by to see me because I respected his father. And so he comes by to see me. I had no idea what he was talking about. Was just going to humor his father. And he was a little part-timer, had only been involved for 3 or 4 weeks. But I was a prospect. And he came to see me. He didn't know what he was doing. He accidentally did all the things I wish I could teach you to do on purpose. He activated my greed, but my curiosity. But I was a prospect. That's the key. Everybody is a prospect. Art Williams, who started A.L. Williams, his cousin was a CPA who came over to his family reunion in Columbus, Georgia, to see him. And while they were talking, he told him a little bit about this biterminal investor difference concept he'd heard about, blah, blah, blah. So Art was a prospect. Everybody's a prospect, and also everybody has a prospect list, even if they don't know about it, even if it hasn't been written down. So those are important things to remember. And in our business, it starts with who do you know? And I got to say this before I forget it. In a business like the business that I do, one of the great advantages that we have over a lot of other businesses is that we have a time borrowing type of a business. And so what all these people who do just what you just said a while ago, oh, I don't know anybody.
Right.
I don't know how to sell. I don't know anything about business. All those excuses get wiped away because, in fact, that's the only ones I really want. I want greenies. I'd rather have a green one than a blue one any day, if you know what I mean. I'd rather have a teachable, coachable person who doesn't know it, and I just got to make sure that he gets past that. This business is not about who you know, it's who do they know, and who do they know, and who do they know, and who do they know. That's what it's about. And so as we talk about prospecting, it starts with your natural market. Who do you know? In fact, we have this sort of a who do you know list, a memory jogger, if you will. It's got a couple of hundred names. It just jogs people's memory. I got a little simple thing that's called the STEAM method. It's called STEAM. I'll say Mauricio, listen. When I say the word salesman, who comes to mind? Who do you know is the best salesman? Well, everybody knows that crazy uncle that's a sales guy. Or this guy sells cars or whatever. Why? Who's the best teacher you know? Well, everybody knows a teacher. E, who's the most enthusiastic person you know? A, who's the most ambitious person that wants to make money that you know? Everybody's got some picture if you'll just put a word in their mind. And then M, who's the most money motivated and most best manager you know? Any of those M. So you're giving them some little something to prod, to jog their memory, to prod their memory. It's like you are a prospecting doctor and you've got some forceps. And you're reaching in there into their brain, and you've taken these prospects out, and you put them over here on the tray.
That's a very powerful gold nugget right there, because I can tell you that as I hear you, takes me back when I first started in this business, and I didn't even know how to mind my own brain. Like you just mentioned, that memory jogger. I knew. Well, first of all, I was one of those that think I don't know anybody. And if I do, probably they won't listen to me because who am I? What kind of success have I had? All these things in my mind. But the most important thing is that how do you mind your own mind? And with those exercises, like I just think it's powerful. I wanted to highlight that because a lot of people right now that are listening to us, maybe they're starting a business right now and they have to create this raw material of their largest list that they can come up with, and just knowing how to do that can help more than one person.
Well, I think if they're listening to the show today and they had never heard this, they now know it. So before you probably would start to minding your own mind, is you'd have to have somebody that understands that principle to have convinced you that you could do that. And it's always great if you've got a mentor or somebody that's got a vested interest in you that will come here and do the memory jogging with you. You start probing your brain and squeezing your brain and getting all those names out. Because it's hard for a new person, if I recruited you, Mauricio, and say, listen, tell you what, go make your prospect list and get back with me and we'll get started.
Right.
Now that's poor leadership, because you don't know how to do that. You're going to say, oh, I told you a while ago I didn't know anybody. Now you're sending me home to make a list of people that I don't know. So I've got to convince you that you do know people, and I'm going to probably sit there and speed it up by doing the memory jogging right there and help you write it down. Then once I've got the pump primed, now you kind of start saying, oh, anytime I feel like I don't know anybody, I've got to go look at this memory jogger list. I got to go do this, and I bet you I can get some more names out of my own self.
All right, so this message is a little bit more for the leaders building the businesses, for them to know that this powerful leadership is about doing it with their team.
It's for both of those things. It's both of the people out there right now who maybe don't have a leader. They're going to have to do this kind of by themselves. At least we're kind of telling them that they can go squeeze their own brain and do all this. But if you are going to be the leader of people, you can speed it up and make this a whole lot better success for people to go and do this for them. So anyway, prospecting is where it's at, and just know that. And every prospect is a human being. Just remember this. I try to convince our people that prospects are like, if you had a tray, one of these nice jeweler trays that you see at a jeweler in a jewelry store, he's got this nice tray of precious stones. He's got diamonds and rubies and emeralds. All these stones are on this deal. And that's what your prospects are. Hey, what if your next prospect was Hubert Humphrey? Well, that little part-timer, hey, what's the next prospect is Mauricio Garcia? What if the next prospect is the next superstar? You never know, because one little clue about prospects, don't go. The tendency of most people who don't know what they're doing is to start prejudging prospects. I think you said this a while ago. Well, the people I know, they wouldn't like this. Or that guy wouldn't like that. Or this guy's making too much money. Or this guy's he's got a nice home already. This guy, no, bull. Hey, there's never been a machine, a computer, or anything that's designed that can look into the heart of a man or woman and see what it is they really want. So you don't try to do that. That's a killer.
But I don't know if it's kind of like just a natural thing that happened, because we kind of default to that, where it's like you look for more excuses of why that person shouldn't be on your list than the reasons too. And that's probably maybe because of where you are in life. In my case, I had done nothing. I'd accomplished nothing. I was just out of the assembly line of
But you wanted to. But you wanted to, Mauricio.
Sure.
You had your burning desire helps you overcome. It broke the gravitational pull of life for you. If your desire is strong enough, you'll keep on until it gets done. And you won't let anything stop you if you desire. What you don't know, you'll eventually learn. Now, the quicker you can get aligned with somebody to help you, the faster you'll learn.
Yeah. I'll just share this because there's a lot of people that may be going through this, and that what it is that even though I was scared to death contacting people that I didn't know, it was less scary than contacting the people that I did know. And I know I'm kind of jumping into the contacting thing, which is there's a whole new conversation we can have around contacting and the art of that. But it's it's just, when you're elaborating that list, it's like let's not look for the reason not to contact them, because you never know, which is what I think you're trying to say. It's like you really never know.
There's an old Marine philosophy: kill them all and let God sort them out. You don't ever. If a Marine is sitting there saying, "Well, I don't know if that guy's going to shoot me or not," I don't know. Well, if you're sitting there figuring out who's going to shoot you, you're going to get shot.
Kill them all.
Kill them all and let God sort them out. Now, we don't want to kill anybody, but if you got a good system and you got a system mentality, let's recruit them all and let the system sort them out. And you let these filter the people out, but you give them all a chance. Put them all on your list. Hey, you put them on there. Trust me. There's somebody somewhere we can find that can help us relate to anybody out there. Yeah. We got great, super successful people that have been recruited. We got little greenies that have been recruited. So you don't try to judge them. I just got to get the name out of your head. Because if you start doing all that prejudging, then you're going to keep getting what you've been getting. So we don't want that. So this whole thing about prospecting is there's magic in it. There's just something about. I know one thing. I watched myself. I watched other leaders who've never thought about. This is very important. Most people that we recruit in our business, have never had a reason to have a prospect list. The job description that they have has never required a prospect list. They've been working as an employee. And they don't have to. They don't have a prospect list. And so most people have never had a prospect. And when you get them to put a few names down, and then they see that those people could eventually be put into business with you, where they were going to help you be successful. You could override them. They could work for you. They could help you build your business. It was going to make you profitable. All of a sudden, it empowers you. You have a sense that you've never had before, never thought about it. It's a new thought. It's a new idea called prospecting.
Now this message obviously is something that everybody could adequate or fit into their model, whatever businesses that you're trying to grow. But I look at like the industry that we're in, which is the financial industry, and going back to looking at who's built the biggest organizations, and I look at a high school football coach, a railroad conductor. I bring up one of the superstars you recruited in the past, which was I think it was a Filipino that couldn't speak English, just kind of like me. Well, my English got a little bit better in the last few years, but what I'm trying to say with that is that now when we talk about financial, right, the sophisticated, highly regulated industry, you got to go out and get the smartest guys, the MBAs, and none of these people that I look at in your organization that have really built it big, that are nowadays like multi millionaires that have distribution teams that expand nationwide, is they weren't necessarily these. They didn't check all maybe the right boxes, as you would say, right? And so that's why we shouldn't judge, because you never know.
This prospecting. As I moved out to Denver, Colorado, I'm here. I'm a little guy from the South, as I said, in my mouth, out trying to talk to these people out there in Denver. It was such a strange phenomenon. But prospecting kind of it transfers itself to other languages, other geographic areas, other ethnicities. From there, we went on, and next thing you know, we got those people knew people who knew people in Vietnamese, Filipino, Hispanics, you name it, Chinese. We had them, all kind of ethnicities coming into our business, African Americans, you name it. We had all kinds of people, like the United Nations of Marketing. So your prospect list, from me as a little guy who didn't know anybody in Macon, over a period of 1 or 2 or 3 years, it's thousands of people coming in from all walks of life, because it's the friendship borrowing system. I didn't have time to get to know all those people. I had a system whereby we could just borrow friendships, and that's a couple of the points that we ought to make.
So it's not who you know, but who do they know, and I think that's also right. Another paradigm shift in there. It's like, look at a prospect not as a prospect, but as a prospect list, and then always remember that it's not who you know, who you just met, but who do they know. I've heard many times, and I don't know if you have any anecdotes or stories of how just one person has changed your life forever. Because I hear a lot of entrepreneurs and many successful people say you're just one person away from changing your life. You're just one recruit away from really going to a whole new world, and that the power of that one person. So it's understanding that principle that it's not really about who you know, but who do they know, and reach into the friendship borrowing.
Well, it's that way. Look, you go back and look at Art Williams. Art Williams had about 85 or so people that he had been working with for 3 or 4 years in Waddell and Reed. And when he left to form A.L. Williams, he had that nucleus of those people, and about 30 of them kind of stayed the course. But they were good people. They didn't have recruiting and building skills. And all of a sudden, one recruit named Hubert Humphrey comes into his business. And kaboom, there we go, because I knew about a system in recruiting and building it at one recruit. Then as I built out west, all of a sudden Another little incidental thing. We're having meetings in Denver. Some of my key guys that I just recruited in Denver, my leaders, had a good friend who lived in California named Nate Knowles. This was Dick Rainwaters, and Nate came to visit, and he came down to the office, saw our business, liked our model. He goes back. We're not even in California. It's going to probably be months or a couple of years before we go to California. Mm-hmm. He comes back and says, I got to do this. I want to do this thing. So anyway, we end up setting up a deal, give him some instructions. I go over and start holding meetings over there, and he recruits some people. He gets going. He's not a very dynamic guy. Doesn't stay the course very long, but he works and does pretty good. He recruits some people. And about 7 or 8, 9 steps, generations deep, he recruits a little guy named Rich Thawley. And he comes into the business. And then about another 7 or 8 or 9 deep, Rich Thawley recruits a little guy named Swan Wynn. And those two little things that have come from a geometric growth of prospecting brings 2 giants of the industry in. And wow. I could go on and on about examples like that. So it's one, and like right now, here comes in our business today. Here comes Aki Rupani, who had been recruited by a guy he had met before, went over to one of our previous company's meetings, saw a little bit about the business, anyway, gets into the business, guy fades away. Later, Aki learns about who I was and wants to come to where I'm at in a new company, comes over, and he's built an empire over here with us in 3 years, made $4 million last year in his 3rd year with us. That's pretty good. That's how prospecting works. You never know. You just said something. All it takes is a small spark to ignite a great future. Wow. One prospect can change your whole life forever. But getting back to the basics of it, you start where you're at. Everybody's got a natural market. It's who you know, who cuts your hair, who babysits your kids, who's your school teachers for your kids, who do you play on the softball team with, who do you golf with, who have you been in business with, who's from the past, the present, all those things. That's natural market. Then there's 2 or 3 ways to replenish your natural market. One is called friendship farming, where you go out and you turn strangers into friends. And you cultivate those friendships. You don't go for the throat. You just sort of just put a little information out there and get them to tell you a little bit about themselves and listen. And then at the right time, you'll know when to contact them. If that's not the right time, wait a day, a week, or whatever, and you'll contact them. And at that time, use the indirect approach. A lot of people says, man, I'm afraid somebody's going to tell me no. Point. Well, take no out of the equation. A prospect and a no does not make a good combination. Mm-hmm. If you got a prospect and you're fearful they're going to tell you no, well, don't give them anything to say no about. In fact, use the prospect. If I'm talking to you, Mauricio, I will say, Mauricio, listen, man, I'm excited. I got so many things going. I just got in a brand new business. I can't really talk much about it because I met some people that are making big money and they're going to show me how. And you're the kind of guy that I know that probably knows a bunch of people that I need to talk to. Would you help me out? Would you refer me to a couple of people that you know? Blah blah blah. And what have I done? You can't tell me no. I'm not going to join you because I didn't ask you to join me. Right. So, but I've caused you to get curious. I've caused you the greed button, and next thing you know, I'm going to say, well, Mauricio, I'm sorry. I apologize. Let me just show you a little bit about what I do, so you'll know who to refer to me. Now, I'm getting you into the business. So it's how you handle a prospect is no better than how you handle them.
Absolutely, and that is actually a very interesting concept, and I'm sure that we'll have the opportunity to go into the whole contacting approach and everything. But I look at the way that the world is today, and obviously the organic way of friendship farming is always going to be there. Is always, as long as there's humans on this planet, the human nature is going to stay pretty much the same. But also now with the technology, social media, I can say that with some of the when I decided to go on social media and just start to share the things that have helped me go from that battery welder on an assembly line to achieving, success in business out there. Just sharing what my journey is. I have cultivated some friends along the way, and it's not me going directly inviting them into what we're doing, but it's more of an indirect. They even contact me based on the value. So it's just much more powerful nowadays when it comes to prospecting if you understand the concept of it and you really go with this mentality of cultivating, of creating friends, right? Friends first. It's like building the relationship first versus going directly into inviting people into, coming into bed with you, is a way to put it.
Right. Well, you're right, and whether you're using technology to reach them and speed it up, it's still basically the same way.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're using social media through any of the platforms out there, and people listening to us, and they come back down through the funnels to us. We now have got a person who is a dreamer, who wants to be somebody, who probably is fearful, doesn't think he knows anybody. So we're gonna have the same situations. We were just able to reach people faster that we didn't know, but we still have to go through this process of doing the right things with that prospect.
Sure. So you got your natural market. You build the list with your leader, or by yourself if your leader isn't doing that exercise with you, and then you adopt the paradigm that it's not really just the names of those lists, but the list you still don't have, but the people that those people know, and then you really focus on cultivating relationships there, whether it's through that list or the people that you meet every day as you go about your life, and to do that friendship farming concept. And then there's another concept that's basically, I think you started touching on that, which is the friendship borrowing. Now, I have an interesting story to tell once we go over the basics with you of what is the difference, obviously, from time borrowing or friendship borrowing versus the friendship farming.
Well, friendship farming is where you're just going out in your natural life as you kind of go to a different hairdresser, go to a different clothing store, go to a different service station, go to a different grocery store. You're out meeting new people and cultivating new old friends. By cultivating, you're farming, you're planting seeds, cultivating like a farmer. But right. Friendship borrowing system is now where you switch to multiplication, where once you do, whether it's one of your natural market older friends or contacts, or whether it's a new one you've just farmed and cultivated, either way, you now are going to leverage yourself off of the people that they know. In other words, if I've been knowing you for 6 months and you go out and recruit Andreas, you've been knowing him for 10 years. Mm-hmm. Well, I hadn't got time to get to know him 10 years, so I'm going to borrow your 10 years. So when I meet Andreas, and you're going to lead me to him, I've been knowing him 10 years and 6 months. Mm-hmm. The 6 months I've been knowing you, and the 10 years you've been knowing him. So I'm borrowing your friendship. And it's a leveraging type of a thing, whether it was one of my natural market people or friendship farmed people. I'm doing multiplication. It's what it is.
Never in life have I understood this concept, and it came, obviously once I read it in the system and understand the concept, but it was so crystal clear. Where a client from back in the day, one of my clients from like 10 years ago, who happens to be a news anchor, or used to be a news anchor in a very famous Spanish TV stations, who was fired for some political reasons, is what I heard, is that he continued to build an audience of, let's say 2-3 million people on social media. And we know that, in business, especially in financial services, the trust factor, right, is very critical. People need to like you, and they trust you, and they know what you're doing, what you're talking about, for them to entrust their retirement, their money, their assets, for you to manage it, or to buy these products. Make a long story short is that that relationship that was cultivated, that relationship that was farmed, eventually became a client. And now, as he has a lot of credibility on social media, my connection with him and the good results that were provided got me to over 20,000 people that want to do business or raise their hand saying, I am interested in what you have to offer. That is a number of leads I couldn't, even by myself work. But that's just the importance of friendship borrowing, which is, like you said, if Andres trusts me, all of a sudden, if I bring you in the picture, if I trust you, I'm passing that trust on to you, which is one of the most critical things that need to exist before somebody wants to transact with you, want to do business with you.
That's right. Well, that's the key. Is that you borrowed a lot of the faith and trust and relationships that he's cultivated, whether it was through his social media channel or whether it was just organic friends that he knew where he lived. I mean, either way, you were borrowing friends. You just happened to speed it up because it was social media. So technology gives you a chance to just do these things in a faster, better way. And then you got the regular way of going out and trying to find some industry professionals who already are experienced in an industry you're in. They already have sales skills. Mm-hmm. They have sometimes business building skills. That speeds things up if you are good enough to do that. But a lot of times greenies aren't able to do that. It's more experienced guys that can get those things. And then obviously using social media, you know yourself that it takes a lot of time and energy and commitment to master social media. It's a romantic sounding thing, sexy sounding thing, and there's a lot of prospects that you can go get. But then how do you take those prospects and ever harvest them and convert them into meaningful?
Yeah, I would say it's probably a mistake now with social media being such a hot topic, and there's so many different things that you see on your news feeds, on all these different platforms, is that you could go 100% digital. I would say it's a big mistake anybody thinking that they're just going to go 100% virtual and forget about the organic reach, because those relationships are there. And I would just say it's a big mistake. I don't know what you could say to that, so that maybe people listening to us wouldn't make that mistake.
The fact that you're saying that is everything, because the one thing that we had over the years, I never had social media, never did any of that, and we brought in around 3 million people through our 3 businesses we've built here, and we're talking about thousands and thousands of clients, millions and millions of clients also, and that was done organically and with the linking up of relationships. That's all it was, just borrowing other people's friends and doing it in an organic way. But it took a lot of human effort, a lot of time and effort. And if I'd had social media, I'm not going to say I would have done it better. I may have done it worse, because I may have gotten. So social media sometimes can make you a little lazy.
It wasn't around. First of all,
it wasn't around. No,
right.
I'm not. Well, obviously, I can't use it if it wasn't around. But what I'm saying, I know lots of people. I know lots of guys today that came up in our industry and built their businesses successfully, and they're switching over, trying to do a lot of social media, and they've gotten a little lazy. You sit around in your underwear and do social media talking to people. You don't even, what I mean? It's a different animal, and the energy and the relationships and the human element. You got to have high touch along with high tech. You got to have the human touch along with the cyber touch here, and a lot of these guys don't put that into it, and it hurts them. So there's a way to
synergize. They need to be synergized. That's the word for maximum impact. They can't. So it should not be two separate things.
It's just like anything. There's a right way to do anything and a wrong way to do anything.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that another subject down the road. But prospecting is the key. Without prospects, your business is going to dry up. And just because you got a few prospects now, unless you learn how to do a referral system, I would recommend people that are in the sales business to live by the rule, a simple rule. That if you're going to do business with a person, you make them up front and say, look, I'm showing you something of great value. I'm educating you. I've got wonderful things for you. It will save you a lot of money, but you got to make a commitment to me up front if we're going to go further. That if you like what I do and you buy from me, that you'll refer me to 5, 10, 15 of your closest friends. And if they make that commitment, then go ahead with the sale, because even though you'll get paid a little bit by the insurance company or whatever company you're selling, you'll get paid a little bit of commission for it, but you really get paid by the referrals. They pay your salary by referring their friends. That's the currency of your future right there.
Well, that's powerful. I think we are pretty much out of time for this podcast today. But the biggest thing is just prospecting should be the number one thing. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong. The effort should really be channeled. The focus should really be channeled into the resources to get the most ways of prospecting, whether that's social media, friendship borrowing, friendship farming, natural markets, and just go back and listen to the podcast because there's the psychology behind, and I hate to repeat, but I love it at the same way because I hope it's really that you get it, that it's clear. It's not a prospect that we add to the list, but the prospect list, and it's not about them, but who they know, stuff like that. Just go back and listen to this live podcast, and you will find a lot of things that is going to help you grow your business. And Hubert, let me tell them about the event that is coming up.
Hey, Mauricio, yeah. before you do that, let me give them one little secret that I would be remiss if I don't say this. As a leader, if you're building a sales organization or a team of builders that are helping you build distribution, and you're recruiting people into your business, if you're going to monitor anything, monitor each one of those people's prospect list and make sure it's growing. It's an organic thing. A prospect list that doesn't have a new people coming in and old people being worked out at the end becomes like the Dead Sea. It's a stagnant body. So if you don't monitor all of your people's prospect list, you're doing them a disservice, and you're putting them on a path of failure, because motivation to a person who has no prospect is fruitless motivation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I would probably add, don't make the mistake, at least I made this mistake at the beginning, was to focus on just learning my presentation, my product, which is important, but probably more so of the energy should be in the prospecting, because then action is going to give you that mastery. So I wouldn't worry that. Initially, it's just going out there and really polishing that ability to learn how to prospect in all these different ways. But let me tell him now, Hubert, then about this event, because I think I'm so excited for the event coming up on March 26 and 27, because I know that when it comes to prospecting or contacting or presenting, having effective ways of following up with the people and starting them into our product, into our world, the secrets that are going to be shared at this event are just going to be epic, and that's why I want you, who's listening to this podcast, or whether you're watching it on YouTube, to not miss the Conquer event. We named it Conquer because that event is going to give you the tools to go out there and conquer your future. Literally, Hubert says it all the time. Go out, conquer your future. I say conquer anything that you want in life if you have the know-how, if you have the strategies, if you have the right paradigms, and if you're getting them from people that have actually done it, and not build a small little company here. I'm talking people who build like multi-billion-dollar companies like Hubert here. And so those are the people that we need to really be listening to, not necessarily people that are on their way there, but people that have done it, been there. So go to conquerevent.com. That is conquerevent.com. Purchase your virtual ticket. Take advantage of this. You will be glad that you did. And also, I want to make sure that we recognize our sponsor. Without them, this podcast would not be possible. That is Hegemon Group International. And Hegemon Group International is in business of helping people like you and I become more valuable in the marketplace. How do you become more valuable in the marketplace? By learning a skill that can solve real problems. And in this country, I learned that the more value you add, or the bigger the problem you solve, the more money you make. If you want to solve big problems, well, look into solving financial problems. People are having all kinds of financial problems today, whether it is that they're not making enough money, or maybe they have a lot of money, maybe they don't have their financial house in order. So Hegemon Group International teaches all the best concepts, the strategies, and it's got the system so that you can go out there and literally change your life by increasing your income, change your financial life by understanding how money works. So check them out. I think they're the best opportunity in the world for the right person. So the place to go and learn more about it is HGIopportunity.com. That is HGIopportunity.com. Go there now, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And Hubert, thank you so much. I really enjoyed today's podcast. Looking forward for the one tomorrow.
All right. See you later. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Warning, this podcast may change the way you think about business, entrepreneurship, and money forever. The Conquistador Podcast was created for dreamers, entrepreneurs, and leaders who want to conquer their future. To be an epic entrepreneur, you must adopt the right mental paradigms as well as master the art of selling, marketing, and finance.